I'm Paul Carroll, the editor-in-chief at Insurance Thought Leadership and at our Innovators Edge platform. I'm here today with Mark Watson, the CEO of Argo Group, to talk about various trends and so forth that we see going on. As long as we're here at the InsurTech Connect conference in Las Vegas, maybe it's appropriate to ask you first just to talk about the interesting trends in business models, technologies, whatever that you see happening.
Well, that's an open-ended question.
Yeah.
But let's start with
an hour from now.
Yeah, let's start with the trend of how many people are here this year versus a year ago or the year before. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think there's more than twice as many people here this year, and last year I think had twice as many people.
I think you're right.
And I remember walking in to the back door of the conference this morning, and it was just slammed. I'm thinking, how am I going to, kind of get through all this and see everybody? And it's kind of fun. There's a lot of energy here, and there's a lot of things to talk about. And so here's another trend. If you kind of compare this to where we were in 1999 and 2000 with all of the dot-com era or the e-commerce era, I think this time there's a lot more traction. The last go around, so many companies were focused on direct-to-consumer models, and I think this time most companies, the overwhelming majority, are figuring out how to use technology to enhance a customer's experience, to help us or other underwriters do a better job of evaluating and assessing risk, helping us find third-party data so that we don't have to try and do everything on our own. And if outsourcing has been a trend for the last decade, which mainly that's been for business process, I think now there's this continued trend of outsourcing a lot of know-how. Before we all thought we had to do everything for ourselves, and now I think, we're recognizing, certainly Argo is recognizing that we can find really good business partners to enhance our ability to underwrite by their ability to assess data in a logical and intelligent way, and then bring that back to us and let us use our own know-how on top of that. So I see that as another big trend. How am I doing?
You're doing well. I think it's interesting thinking about the talent that the insurance industry needs.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some things that really have to come in from outside because insurance hasn't had the history of the cutting edge technology innovation that some have. How do you think about the mix? I mean, how much talent you need to bring into Argo directly, how much you can sort of bring in as software as a service or some other kind of a service, and how do you go about recruiting the kind of talent that you're going to need?
Yeah, so anything is a service today, right? And so if you look at, so you're absolutely right that we need more talent, and we need it in different places. If you look at our employee base today, we have about the same number of employees today as we did before, but they have very different roles. If you go back 5 years ago, the majority of our employees were either underwriters or claims adjusters or claims handlers. And while those are still core functions in our company and always will be, I mean, we're an underwriting organization, we have, 5 or 10 times as many data scientists, actuaries. I'm sure there's 2 or 3 other things. And so when you look at our employee mix today, it's very different. And I would say that the majority of the people that have joined our company in the last 5 years don't come from the insurance industry. So they haven't just gone from one company to another.
Right.
They've come from big tech firms. They've come from consulting firms. They've come from investment banking. In fact, during the financial crisis, we repopulated the majority of our corporate finance team from people from the investment banking world, including our CFO, Jay Bullock. And so the whole, what we've been trying to do at our company for a long time now is find really talented people and teach them the insurance business on the side because it's not that complicated. We like to mystify the insurance industry, but actually it's pretty simple. And so we've been working really hard to bring in very talented people from all different professions over the last 5 or 10 years, and it's really starting to pay off.
I would think there's maybe starting to be a little cachet for insurance as well. I mean, the InsurTech movement, and I think people can actually see innovation, and it's probably easier to attract people than it was 5 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think it is easier to attract people, and they see that underwriting risk is as interesting as underwriting a derivative contract or some other trading algorithm if you were an asset manager or an investment banker. And that's really what we do, right? Is we assess and we trade risk.
Right.
And actually it's pretty fun. I mean, the intellectual part of being in our business is really cool. And on top of that, we get to meet, our customers' needs, hopefully. And so there's really a lot going on. And I have to say the last 5 years have been far more exciting than the previous 20.
Right.
And
So
I think we're just getting going.
Oh, I do too, having
Yeah.
tracked in innovation in a lot of industries over the last 30 years. And the argument I make to people is that you talk about driverless cars or all these other innovations that people get excited about, and none of that happens without someone managing the risk.
That's right.
And that means insurance. So
That's right.
I figured that insurance is at the core of everything.
Well,
that's gonna happen.
I mean, you put it really well, and that is, anytime someone innovates in an industry, they by definition are changing the risk parameters or metrics,
Yep.
which requires us to then go back and rethink our product set to meet the new needs of those customers.
Right. So we're getting a little short on time, but I'll ask you about one innovation in particular. I know you've been involved with blockchain, and in some ways that's maybe a solution in search of a problem, and it's great technology. But you guys are actually doing something tangible with it. How's that going, and where do you see blockchain going from here?
Well, so let me just lay the predicate for blockchain, and that is, in our industry, which is built on trust, the more that we can do to be transparent, the better off we are. And we've been thinking about different ways that we can use blockchain, and I think actually claims payment is a really good example, because in so many of these large losses, there's so many different parties involved that are actually paying claims, or at least involved in the process of paying claims. And so we're working with one of our business partners right now to put the contracts that we have between them and us on blockchain, so that we can see real time what they're doing, and they can see real time what we're doing. So that makes it easier for us to share information real time, and it makes it easier for us to provide a better experience for our customers real time. It's going to take a few months to get it done, but we've started on it, and so I'm pretty excited about it.
That's great. I still think I won't buy any Bitcoin if it's okay with you. Thanks very much. That was great.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.